Racing.
Up next is race number 2 in the Premier class here at FAB Racing. It is race number 2 in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. Of course, the championship that has been hotting up over the last few weeks, and especially hotting up in the championship fight between Wilson DILKS and Archie O'BRIEN as relations start to sour both on and off track between the pair of them. But in qualifying, it was O'Brien who had the advantage. Wilson DILKS a bit disappointed, could only qualify P4 as O'Brien starts second on the front row. So that's something to watch out for. Again, everyone's around about where you'd expect, and the top 4 were only covered by about 0.3 of a second, so it's as close as you're going to get. But still very, very tight out there indeed. Wilson DILKS did take victory in race number 1. O'Brien could only manage third. The race was red flagged and restarted after only a handful of laps. So O'Brien, unfortunately, a disappointing getaway at the restart and got stuck behind Byron JOHNSON. So it could be interesting, but let's see how it goes in race number 2, the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship.
Let's bring it on. Should be some fantastic racing, and I think actually we are going to be joined by one Super Sully in just a moment as well. He joined us for the Extremes and maybe going to be jumping in for the MiniGP 70s. Of course, a very hotly contested race ahead of us. The championship is firing up. Wilson DILKS, Archie O'Brien, the 2 contenders at the front. Harrison Day P3 in the championship. Byron JOHNSON and Finley POLHILL completes the top 5. And after race 1,
well, should be interesting. Let's go going on the grid, shall we? It is Finley POLHILL starting on pole, Archie O'Brien P2, Byron JOHNSON 3rd, Wilson DILKS in 4th, and Harrison Day in P5. Frankie WATSON 6th, Travis Shaw 7th, Matthew Thomas 8th, Hamish MACKINTOSH 9th, Olly O'GORMAN is 10th, Lucy Curtis 11th, Beth ASHBY 12th, and Riley PAISLEY 13th. This one should be very, very interesting. As we get going, let's see how it goes, shall we, Zach?
Yeah, let's do it indeed. Race start about to get ahead of us, and of course, once again, we are joined by one Mr. Sullivan. Mousy, how you doing? Extremes was good. 70s, what can we expect?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping for an even better battle. Wilson and Finley POLHILL and Archie O'Brien were the riders that were in the Extreme 200 race, so let's see what these guys can cook up for this race. Finley POLHILL has had a very impressive weekend. He's qualified in pole position. I was like, what's this? So this is going to be a really interesting race. Wilson's found some extra pace, but as you can see, Wilson's starting in like 4th place. Is that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's down. Not the best of qualifyings, but it was a very, very close one. But the thing about Wilson DILKS, he's aggressive, right? He gets his elbows out. He knows how to get those overtakes done, and he's very, very consistent indeed. Archie O'Brien really needs to nail that start if he wants to get that first race win of the season. Race 2 of round 4 of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s is about to get itself underway. Finley POLHILL assumes pole position ahead of Archie O'Brien and Byron JOHNSON. All 3 of them very aggressive, but look out for Wilson DILKS as well as his eyes to the lights. Race 2 underway. Big wheelie there from Wilson DILKS as he jumps 2 riders going into turn 1. What an absolutely sensational launch, it must be said, as Wilson DILKS goes from 4th to 2nd, already eyeing up the lead as Finley POLHILL has to go defensive. Byron JOHNSON looks to the outside as well, trying to get underneath Wilson DILKS. If you qualify bad, you make up for it with a good start.
Wow. Sorry, I was so lost in words because I was just so interested in this race. Wilson is applying the pressure to Finley POLHILL, and yeah, Finley is fully on this now. He's taking it a bit easy on these first couple laps, taking it a bit tighter, but here comes Wilson DILKS. He's lining it up exactly like he's done with Casey. He's had the battle in practice. He goes up the inside of Finley POLHILL, but is he going to run wide? Yes, it's Finley POLHILL cutback. Finley POLHILL's done it, but now Wilson DILKS up the inside. Is he going to run wide though? Is Finley POLHILL going to have the cutback? Yes, he is. Finley POLHILL's back up the inside, and he's going to lead on the first lap. Wow, what an interesting first lap. It's only a first lap of the race. But here we go now. Is Wilson DILKS going to go for a move? No, he isn't. Finley POLHILL looks very comfortable. We've got a now 5-rider pack. Oh, and here we go. Wilson DILKS is just there, sitting comfortably behind Finley POLHILL. They're just starting to edge away from everybody else, but he's just keeping it quite comfortable. Finley doesn't look too out of his seat. I think this is the first time he's ever properly led a race for a good period of time, so he looks very comfortable as well. But Wilson's up the inside again. of Finley POLHILL, and he's going to just push him wide. He's going to do it, but Finley POLHILL's up the inside, but he's going to back out this time around. Now, is he going to have the pace to stick with Wilson? Wilson had some awesome pacing warm-up this morning, but is he now going to be able to do it? Byron JOHNSON's back in the battle, but he doesn't look very strong on the exit there. Wilson looks very comfortable there, just keeping it all very flowy, but so is Finley POLHILL. He's just lurking. Is he going to have a look back, or do you think he's going to be there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, Wilson DILKS is just on the top of his game, isn't he? Whether it's on the Ovali, whether it's on the Metro Kit, he's just flying. That start that he had really has sort of allowed him to get this early lead. Still got 10 laps to go, 9 at the line, of course, and Wilson DILKS is flying. Thus far has taken 8 race victories and 10 podiums in this season. He is flying. Look there, goodness me, Byron JOHNSON loves that move to the inside of Sunny Ben, and unfortunately Finley POLHILL couldn't quite see it in time. Byron JOHNSON on that 37 machine finds his way through in a second place. It's moves like that that make the difference.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that was a lovely move by Byron. He's been able to do it, but now is he going to have the pace to catch Wilson, or is this just broken the pack up? He looks like he's a bit more on by Wilson DILKS than Finley POLHILL was, but now Finley looks like he's dropping back. But these are completely different size of riders. Byron JOHNSON's a very small rider compared to Finley POLHILL and Wilson DILKS, but Byron's actually looking quite comfy as well. They all look very chilled out. They don't look like they're all out of the seat and uncomfortable, but Wilson's just in a Jorge Lorenzo moment, in the rhythm and just going for it.
What do you do? What's sort of going through your head at this stage of a race? Whether you're DILKS, JOHNSON, POLHILL, I mean, particularly Byron JOHNSON, he's got the pace. He's closed right back up onto the back of Wilson DILKS. If you're Byron JOHNSON, what's going through your head? Is it, I'm in second, or is it, I have a chance for the win?
Yeah, well, if I was Byron JOHNSON, I'd be, this is a win. Could be my first win in the MetroKit 70 class. Let's give this a proper crack. So I think now he's just there. He's able to hang with Wilson, and this is Wilson in his rhythm as well. But Byron JOHNSON with 49.339. That is a pretty fast lap. That would have put him straight on pole by 2 tenths. So he's got the pace. He's been able to catch Wilson, and Finley's there as well, just sitting on the back. So this is amazing.
It really is. There is the 37, of course, Byron JOHNSON. Look at how late he is on the brakes. As a rider, do you become more familiar with where your favourite places are? Do you know your strengths, and can you really use that to go and attack? I mean, Byron JOHNSON, I don't know how many moves he's made into Sunny Ben, but do you think he's going to try and do the exact same thing onto Wilson DILKS?
Well, if you look at him, he just looks comfy. He's not actually coming out the seat. Wilson looks much more leery compared to Byron. Byron's just sitting there, able to just show a nose, but not do anything too much. But here comes Finley POLHILL. Is he going to have a look? Yes, he is, but he backs out at the last minute. This is not going to help these two stay with Wilson DILKS, and there we go. He's stretched out the lead as Wilson. He's capitalised on that by a massive margin. The new fastest lap by Wilson DILKS, 49.271, with Byron JOHNSON on 49.290, and Finley POLHILL on a 49.272. So they're all on flying lap times, but they're not able to just do it. And there we go, Byron JOHNSON up the inside, but no, he's had to back out of that one. But Byron is now, he knows he's got the pace. Wilson knows he's there. Finley knows Byron's got the pace. So it's now just, is Finley going to try and make a move, or is he just going to sit there? Looks like Wilson taking it easy, and there's Finley POLHILL up the inside of Byron JOHNSON. Byron JOHNSON's on the cutback, but now is Finley going to be able to, oh wow, he's been able to do it up the inside. There's Byron JOHNSON up the inside of Finley POLHILL. They're battling, and this is going to just help Wilson, and Wilson's done the same thing again. Wilson has just stretched out a gap because these two are battling. One of them needs to take the initiative and just sit behind each other and just try and get past Wilson. So at the moment, Wilson looks like the person that hasn't got the pace out of the pair.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, for once, Wilson DILKS maybe isn't the strongest rider, and you need to capitalise on that. Byron JOHNSON runs wide out of Sunny Ben, but gets the acceleration inside line for the final corner and takes the race lead with 5 laps left to go in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s. Byron JOHNSON on course for his first race victory of the season. He is the fastest rider of the 3. Finley POLHILL looking to the inside as well. He loves that move. Bit of contact, they're rubbing as they run their way through the hairpin. Beautiful stuff, side by side as they emerge. Wilson DILKS assumes the inside and stays in second place. Look out for Archie O'BRIEN as well, because with still 5 laps left to go, they keep battling. We could have 4 riders in contention.
Yeah, but Byron's looking like he's just trying to stretch all these guys out at the moment. As you can see, Wilson's got back from Finley POLHILL, and Wilson DILKS 49.279. What a lap time. But he's back in second. Is he going to try and get past Byron? Byron looks really nice and comfy. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary, and he's just sitting there. He won the MetroKit 50 race earlier, came second in the MetroKit 50 race earlier, but no, it's been amazing. He's won MetroKit 50s, and now is he going to get his first ever win in the MetroKit 70 class? And there's Finley POLHILL round the outside. Wilson DILKS, wow, he is making exceptional progress as Finley POLHILL this year. But is he now? He's got his sights set on Byron JOHNSON. Is he going to do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. He's been aggressive, and he has overtaken Byron JOHNSON so far this race, and he's just been aggressive, brave on the brakes, seeing the gap and putting the bike exactly where it needs to be. And that really made it difficult for Byron JOHNSON, being second in that train, trying to set up a switchback. You can't do that because then you leave the inside open, and that's exactly what Finley POLHILL is going to try and capitalise on. Thus far, though, Finley POLHILL has only finished third on one occasion. The rest of the time it's either been in the top 5 or just outside of it. He's very rarely in contention for a race victory. Fastest lap just been set, though, for Finley POLHILL, 49.175, blisteringly quick pace, and absolutely flying in front.
Yeah, well, this is amazing pace by Finley POLHILL at the moment. The lap record's at 48.699. And Wilson DILKS, has Wilson DILKS got a problem, actually? He looked like he ran wide or something there. That is not very good for Wilson DILKS' championship hopes. This is not good for Wilson at all. He's had a perfect weekend, and there we go, he's crashed. He's crashed. Wilson DILKS has crashed. Is there a problem with his bike, or is something wrong? What's happened there? He ran wide at the corner before, and now he's out. This is not something you want to see, but it's now just 2 of them battling for this win. Let's see what can happen now. Finley POLHILL's all over Byron JOHNSON as they're starting to catch up lap traffic. There's no blue flags here, so here we go. And is Finley POLHILL going to go for the lead? Yes, he is. He's going to do it. No, he isn't. He backed out at the last minute. Byron JOHNSON's in the lead still. Finley POLHILL's in second, with Archie O'BRIEN that's been put into third place because of Wilson DILKS'. And here we go now. Finley POLHILL's just lost a bit. Poor Wilson DILKS. He's just being comforted by his dad. What a shame that is for the kid. But he has put an exceptional weekend together so far, so he'll be back out later today in race 3.
And that's how much it means to him. He's won all but one race thus far this season. He comes off once and it's the end of the world. And that is that championship mentality that Wilson DILKS has. It's fantastic. But what this does mean is a fantastic opportunity for Archie O'BRIEN to claw back some of the points in the championship. Final lap of the race, though, and Byron JOHNSON looks set to take his first victory. Either way, we're getting a historic race here. The 199 of Finley POLHILL or the 37 of Byron JOHNSON, both of them pushing for victory.
Yeah, well, wow. I think Byron looks like he's got this secured at this moment in time. Finley POLHILL is now able to do this quite comfortably. He's there in second place. Is he going to be able to do it? I don't think he is. He looks like he's a little bit too far back, but Byron's taking it easy. I think he wants to get his first win, but now he's going to be a little bit under pressure by Finley POLHILL. Is Finley going to have a look? Bearing in mind, this is going to be both of their first ever wins in the MetroKit 70 class. So who do you think is going to do it? But at the moment, it looks like Finley's too far back. Byron's done. He's gone very defensive, and here we go, the run to the line, and it's Byron JOHNSON who wins his first ever MetroKit 70 race. Congratulations, Byron JOHNSON. Wow. Finley POLHILL, first ever second position, and Archie O'BRIEN, a very comfortable and a very good championship reduction or save from Archie O'BRIEN to come P3.
Yeah, for the second race in a row, it was a string of second places. Maybe it's going to be a string of thirds starting to form for Archie O'BRIEN. What do you think he has to do differently? Of course, Byron JOHNSON, Finley POLHILL did a sensational job that race, but Archie, he's not a slow rider. What does he need to do to win?
He just seems like he hasn't got that little bit of edge that everyone else has. It's just a bit of a shame because normally he's there. He's always at the front, but actually he just wasn't there this time around. He was a little bit further behind, but here's some good sportsmanship from Byron, giving Wilson DILKS, his fellow competitor, a ride back to pit lane, which is very nice. But that poor suspension looks quite squared down, I must say. But a very, very good race that was, and very proud of everyone in this, because as you can see, this is the road to MotoGP.
It really is. The stars of tomorrow here today. Of course, you know all about that in your progression through the ladder and stuff, and yeah, these guys, do you reckon they'll be giving you a run for your money in a few years?
Oh, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But hopefully I'll be back at the, one more Fab round in the Extreme 200s, then I'll be able to join the Wilson and Casey battle, but we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully so. Well, let's have a look. Byron JOHNSON took the victory, his first in the Metrokit, of course, in this year. In fact, actually, no, it's his second Metrokit victory because he did it in the 50s earlier. It's his first 70 victory ahead of Finley POLHILL. Archie O'BRIEN completes the podium ahead of Harrison Day. A consistent run, and P4 not too bad at all. Frankie WATSON completes the top 5 ahead of Travis Shaw in 6th. Matthew Thomas, not bad going after a collision yesterday in 7th. Hamish MACKINTOSH from Olly O'GORMAN. Lucy Curtis, the top 10. And an unfortunate DNF, an important one for Wilson DILKS. The first time that we've seen the crack start to open and the pressure get to him. A similar mistake in the extremes. It wasn't as extreme. This time, though, it cost him the race.
Yeah, real shame for Wilson DILKS, but you know, he is a tenacious young man. I'm sure he'll be back out in the rest of the weekend and be straight back on it. You know, he was obviously quite clearly upset that he crashed. Obviously, it's you know, he was racing very, very hard. He was battling very, very hard with Byron and Finley. He was probably aware that Archie O'BRIEN wasn't too far behind either. But, you know, Wilson is an absolute expert at just getting back on the bike and just getting back on with it. So, you know, he'll go into lunch, he'll have the rest of the day, he can just sit, recover, rest, recuperate, and get back in, you know, the right frame of mind to get back out onto the track and, you know, start pushing again. Because he was very, very quick. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, he lost a couple of positions before he made that mistake. You know, that's just racing. Sometimes you lose positions, but he was still leading from the front for a long way. Now it is time for race number 3 in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship here at round 4 in this double header weekend at the Cumbria Kart Racing Club, better known to you or I as Rowrah. And well, Zach, the MiniGP 70s, it's the championship, it's the premier class that everyone wants to watch, everyone wants to win. And so far this weekend, it's been some very exciting racing. And it's been interesting as well because, of course, the qualifying a little bit mixed up at the front. We've got the likes of Wilson DILKS down in P4, Finley POLHILL taking a great pole position. Maybe not what we would have expected coming from those guys, but as they are getting ready to head to the dummy grid, should be very interesting. Let's see what happens in this one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, earlier on, we saw them take to their second race of round 4. Byron JOHNSON was then able to take his first ever Metrokit MiniGP 70 win. Of course, that was a sensational battle between himself and Finley POLHILL. Wilson DILKS, of course, suffering some issues with the rear brakes. Archie O'BRIEN not really on the pace, but was able to then promote himself onto the podium. So much talent stacked into this grid. Hopefully, coming with it is going to be a fantastic battle because Rowrah has produced it all day long.
It will be Finley POLHILL who starts in P1. Alongside him, Archie O'BRIEN and Byron JOHNSON to complete the first row of the grid. Wilson DILKS, championship leader. He starts in P4 with Harrison Day 5th and Frankie WATSON in P6. Travis Shaw goes up a P7 with Matthew Thomas alongside and Hamish MACKINTOSH in P9. Row 4 is Olly O'GORMAN with Lucy Curtis in P11 and Bethany ASHBY in P12. And rounding out our grid of 13 riders is the returning Riley Paisley after his injury at Three Sisters. Great to see him back out on the track here at Rowrah. This could be interesting, Zach. I mean, well, we know it's going to be interesting. Of course, we've had 2 great races in round 4. We've got this one. We've got 3 more races in round 5 to come over the remainder of this weekend as well. And as the riders come into the grid box, it'll be all eyes, especially to that front row. Watch Wilson DILKS from P4. He's been very fast starting. Archie O'BRIEN off of P2. A bit of a disappointing start in race number 2 earlier. Let's see how it gets going in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately for Archie O'BRIEN, he still hasn't really sussed out those starts for whatever reason, but Wilson DILKS has got it down to a T. We saw him go from 4th to 2nd earlier on in race 2. Let's see if he's able to do the same thing for race 3. Nonetheless, we've got a cracking race ahead of us.
Now then, the riders all ready and waiting on the grid. It'll be all eyes to the lights in just a short moment for race number 3 in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship. Oh, a bit of a problem there with the lights. Frankie WATSON down on the ground. What has happened with some of the riders in the back went, and then the front row didn't go. I wonder if there was a problem with the lights or something along those lines. Frankie WATSON went down on the ground. He's up on his feet. Hopefully everything's okay. Not the start that we wanted to see. Hopefully it all gets sorted. The riders were all ready to go. The front row didn't move. Some on the second row did. I think I saw Harrison Day going as well there. And is Frankie Watson down and out before this race has even started? That's not what you want to see.
No, absolutely not. I think because obviously he got the jump, the bike lifted up and he went straight into the back of Byron Johnson's exhaust. Then unfortunately the tyre's gone pop and now there's no time to change it. So we're going to go straight to the lights once again. Polhill from O'Brien, Byron Johnson, the top three. Now of course behind that you've got Wilson Dilks and Harrison Day. Once again, eyes to the lights. For race 3 of round 4, we get underway for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70. What a launch once again from Wilson Dilks. Takes it 3 wide into turn 1, but takes second place off of Archie O'Brien. Byron Johnson drops to 4th place, but what a launch that was from Finley POLHILL on that 99 machine into the second hairpin. Has a solid lead, but look out for Wilson Dilks because his pace is scary.
Great start there from Finley POLHILL. Also a great start from Wilson Dilks as through goes Byron Johnson on Archie O'Brien, but it's not done yet. Still side by side. Now it is done. Better drive out of Erdales for that number 37 machine up into the podium places. He slides. Wilson Dilks already trying to hunt down your pole sitter, as there we see Riley Paisley has come to a stop early doors in this race. A shame for him. Problems with the bike, but back to the front we go as we come to the end of the first lap. It will be Finley POLHILL leading from Wilson Dilks. Dilks had a bit of a problematic race number 2 earlier on, ended up DNFing after cooking his brakes, just using too much brake, but he was out in the Extreme 200s earlier, used it to really just reset his mind, refocus, get to grips maybe with using a little bit less brake than he'd be used to. We know he loves to really get on those brakes hard, and now he is looking mighty, looking ferocious out there, and already trying to hunt down Finley POLHILL.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Finley POLHILL, he's fine. He's so well composed. He's been here before, and he knows, yeah, fair enough, Wilson Dilks is over his shoulder, but he will not let that crack the pressure one bit. He will be absolutely fine just by riding, hitting his apexes, and is actually more tentative on the brakes. Wilson Dilks very aggressive, likes to come to a nice sudden stop. There could well be a move into paddock bend, but not quite close enough for Wilson Dilks. POLHILL, though, is dealing with this pressure very nicely indeed. He's never won a Mini GP 70 race thus far in 2024. Couple of podiums, it must be said, but nothing higher than P3. He's searching for that inaugural win, and at the moment is dealing with the pressure quite nicely.
Maybe this is the chance, or maybe it won't be, because Wilson Dilks is looking rapid. The two of them already starting to bolt away from Byron Johnson down in P3. Let's see how it runs over the remainder of this one. The front two, POLHILL and Dilks, locked in battle. You can see already, compared to race number 2, Dilks riding a lot smoother, just letting the bike float more naturally into corners and being much softer, especially on that rear brake. We're so used to seeing the rear of the bike squirming with Dilks. Right now, it looks very calm, very collected, trying to go the long way around maybe into paddock bend as POLHILL goes a little bit defensive, doesn't completely shut the door, but maybe just trying to cover off from Dilks. But Dilks seemingly very happy to be patient at the moment, very happy just to sit there, wait and watch and see what POLHILL is doing. On the brakes now, down into McRae's, and then blasting back up the hill into Erdales, the highest point on the circuit, probably the trickiest corner on the circuit as well. Let's see what the drive is. They come back down the hill. Looks very good for Finley POLHILL. He should be holding on, but trying to break the toe, coming across to the middle of the track, then shooting back across to the left to get the line into the bottom end of the circuit. And now the super fast, flat out S's section. What has Finley POLHILL got in his locket to keep Wilson Dilks behind, as he's almost into the exhaust of the rider in the lead? Into paddock bend they go. Is this the opportunity for Dilks? No, not quite yet, as they come to the line once again. It will be Finley POLHILL leading the way, still holding on to that first place. He is maintained from the lights, from pole position. Dilks, though, all over the back of him.
Yeah, he is indeed applying that pressure. It's going to be all eyes on Finley POLHILL, making sure he does not make that all-important mistake, because that could be pivotal. Right now, he's all good. That bike is nice and wide, and there's no way through for Dilks, but right there, through the second hairpin, way too late on the brakes, and Dilks goes straight back through. Now, is this the race done? Has Dilks got the pace to get away, or can Finley POLHILL stay right on that rear fender?
We'll have to wait and see. Dilks has been rapid this weekend, but so has Finley POLHILL, and he's looking really, really hungry in this race. And watch Byron Johnson there in the background. Byron Johnson really came alive across the last couple of races. He's been fast all weekend, but he's starting to close up to those leaders, and especially given they're fighting, and with Finley POLHILL looking to the inside there, up into the opening chicane. If they continue to fight, they're going to lose time. That could be an opening for this to become a three-way fight for the lead.
Yeah, exactly that. Archie O'BRIEN not a million miles away either, but more of an outside shot. It's going to take a lot of battling for him to close back in, but Byron JOHNSON, by all means, has got a shot to take this race victory. We've seen how brave he is all day long on the brakes. He's not scared to get his elbows out. He's not scared to go for a very courageous move on the brakes either, and his pace is just as, if not even better than the two in front of him. Byron JOHNSON sees those two in front battling, and he just sees an opportunity.
He does indeed. DILKS withstanding the pressure from POLHILL, who tried to go in the attack, looking left, looking right, nowhere to go for the number 99. Maybe an opportunity around the outside at Paddock Bend as DILKS takes a bit more defensive line, and look at Byron JOHNSON. He is right with the leaders now. Where has this come from? He is all over the back of Finley POLHILL. Suddenly, what was a two-way battle for the lead? Every podium place is now scrapping. POLHILL almost clashes with Wilson DILKS coming down into McRae's hairpin. A little bit late on the brakes. The bike squirming under him. Byron JOHNSON with a wonderful block pass to get up into second place. That was majestic. That was magical. That was brilliant from the 37. Moves up a place. Now he's trying to hunt down Wilson DILKS.
Yeah, a little wave of an apology from Byron JOHNSON. I don't think it was necessary. I think it was rude, but there wasn't anything necessarily malicious or wrong about it. Just incredibly aggressive. Now he wants to be the one to lead the charge versus Wilson DILKS. It's dangerous fighting for P2 in a three bike train when you're trying to fight for a lead, but Byron JOHNSON has got that pace, and he's got the aggression to go and attack Wilson DILKS that maybe Finley POLHILL doesn't. What Finley needs to do is sit on the back of Byron JOHNSON and wait for something to happen. Wilson DILKS very squirmy. Byron JOHNSON, he's comfortable, he's chilling, he's consistent, and that pressure will start to ramp up more and more on Wilson DILKS.
The way that Byron JOHNSON is able to pivot the bike around as he comes into the exit of a corner, absolutely superb. It just means he can get the drive down perfectly heading out of corners, and now he is closing in on Wilson DILKS, but POLHILL still with him as they come into the back end of the track. Can JOHNSON find his way through on the championship leader? We'll wait and see as they make their way through the sweepers now into Sunny Bend. There goes Byron JOHNSON into the lead of the race. Just as I was talking about it, Byron JOHNSON seen the opportunity on the brakes into Sunny Bend. We've seen a few moves there today. We've seen it from the likes of Wilson DILKS as well. I don't think DILKS was expecting it. Byron JOHNSON caught him unawares, gets into the lead.
Beautifully done, but Wilson DILKS straight away on the attack. Is that a half look to attack, half look to defend, but nonetheless he's going to take the lead of the race. There goes Byron JOHNSON trying to get back underneath him. Look for Finley POLHILL as well, looking to try and maybe set up a cutback. Byron JOHNSON unable to get underneath Wilson DILKS, who parks it perfectly on the apex. A drag race between Finley POLHILL and Byron JOHNSON, but it's three as they were line astern into Stewart's. Wilson DILKS assumed this race lead from Byron JOHNSON. Finley POLHILL 1, 2, 3 as they have been. We're about halfway through this race right now. Time is of the essence, and we have no idea who's coming out on top.
This is simply superb action here in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship. A look at the inside into Paddock Bend from Byron JOHNSON does not come into fruition, but shows he's got the pace. He's already got through Wilson DILKS once in this race. Can he do it again? Oh, DILKS really wide onto the grass almost from the 85. Means he's going to have to really compromise his exit, and this could be the opportunity for Byron JOHNSON as he comes to the outside. No, DILKS a little bit later on the brakes once again, just parking the bike on the apex. That really hurts Byron JOHNSON coming down this back straight. Playing a bit of defensive aggro there is the race leader, Wilson DILKS, just moving the bike a little bit to try and keep JOHNSON behind. Ooh, a little bit wide there through the left-hander as they come into St. John's. Maybe once again from Byron JOHNSON. No, backs out of it, has to sit the bike up a little bit. Tried the same move that he did previously, didn't work that time. And now, Zach, we've got some traffic to play with as well.
Yeah, we do indeed. We've seen it change the tide of a race, and Byron JOHNSON, of course, we saw him earlier on the Metrica MiniGP 50 where he took his first race win on a Metrica ever. Finley POLHILL looking to the inside. That's getting very busy into the first hairpin. Nicely done from all three of them. But Byron JOHNSON knows his way way through traffic, and he is very, very intelligent, just able to pick the gap very nicely. They've all cleared it equally, no real gap changes at all, so nice to see the experience shining through. But speaking of experience, Wilson DILKS is wise to those dive bombs from Byron JOHNSON. The whole appeal of it from Byron JOHNSON is that it catches them by surprise, but you do it too many times, they catch onto it. Wilson DILKS now knows where and when to expect an attack from Byron JOHNSON.
Looking at those riders coming through the S's section, it's like synchronized swimmers. Absolutely superb, neck and neck. It's like a Moto 3 race as we head onto the last lap. Is this last chance saloon potentially for Byron JOHNSON, who's made a small mistake heading out of the chicane? DILKS goes defensive once again, but JOHNSON himself was defending from POLHILL, but it may not have been enough. 3 wide, POLHILL backs out, DILKS defensive to the inside. He'll be parking the bike once again to prevent an attack from JOHNSON as they blast down the hill following Erdales and into Stewart's Bend. Time is ticking, time is running out for Byron JOHNSON. Does he have what it takes to get through the championship leader? I'm not sure, because there's only a handful of corners left. The 3 of them still neck and neck into Sunny Bend for the final time. 1 turn to go. It's going to have to be last chance miracles for Byron JOHNSON. DILKS defensive on the inside. DILKS holds on. DILKS takes the checkered flag. He wins race number 3 here in the MiniGP 70s at Rowrah. I believe that it was Byron JOHNSON who just held on for P2, and indeed he did. Finley POLHILL missing out by under a tenth of a second. But what a race there to end round 4 here at Rowrah. It will be Wilson DILKS that takes yet another victory in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. But once again, Zach, it wasn't smooth sailing. He had to work for it.
Yeah, I mean, all season long, he's just ticked off his 9th race victory of the season thus far. Wilson DILKS is firmly the favourite for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 Championship, but these last 2 races have really been sort of telling him of some troubles that might be creeping in, and that is how easy it is to get complacent. Here are the full results. Wilson DILKS took victory ahead of Byron JOHNSON, and Finley POLHILL just 77 thousandths of a second behind. Less than 2 tenths covered the entirety of the top 3. Archie O'BRIEN, his first ever race finish off of the podium this season, just goes to showcase his consistency, but an unfortunate race in terms of pace. Harrison Day, another top 5 for the 15 ahead of Travis Shaw. Matthew Thomas, after issues on the initial start, is fine and finishes P7 ahead of Hamish MACKINTOSH. Olly O'GORMAN, Beth ASHBY and Lucy Curtis. Of course, it was Beth ASHBY that completed the top 10, with Frankie WATSON and Riley PAISLEY an unfortunate DNS and DNF respectively for the 2 riders, who unfortunately, as we say, an issue with the lights we suspect for Frankie WATSON, catching him off guard, popping his tyre, and that's they done.
A real shame there for Frankie WATSON, out before it even got going. That is it for round 4 of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. But of course, it's a double header round, Zach. They'll be back for round 5 on Monday. This is the one we've all been waiting for them as we head into round 5, the second half of our weekend, the second part of this double header, and it is time for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship race number 1. It's been an interesting weekend so far in the Premier class here at FAB-Racing. We've seen Wilson DILKS looking fast, then looking too fast and crashing out, then looking fast once again, despite, by his standards, a disappointing qualifying. We've seen Archie O'BRIEN looking strong and steady, but just not able to take any strong results. DILKS, of course, winning 2 races this weekend, with Byron JOHNSON P2 and Archie O'BRIEN in P3 in race number 1 in round 4. Race number 3, it was DILKS from JOHNSON from Finley POLHILL. Race number 2, though, the one where DILKS crashed out. He fell back early on, then just overused his brakes, overheated them and went down. Byron JOHNSON was a man possessed in that one, absolutely flew through the pack and took the win from POLHILL and Archie O'BRIEN in P3. Byron's been having a great weekend. He's starting from P3. Realistically, any one of the top 5, the top 6 really, could win this race here. You know, you've got POLHILL, O'BRIEN, JOHNSON on the front row, DILKS, Day, WATSON on row 2. All very, very strong riders, all been very, very close out on the track. And any one of them really could be standing on the top step.
I think so, exactly that. I mean, Archie O'BRIEN, I hate to say it because he's been riding so well this season, but he's really been off the pace, right? And that is unfortunate for him. His starts really haven't been that good either. He's been struggling to get onto the podium. Maybe after a reset last night, he's able to find whatever the issue was and get his way on to maybe onto the podium again, maybe taking to the top step and really competing. But the favourites, ideally, Finley POLHILL, Wilson DILKS and Byron JOHNSON, those really are the big names that we are going to be focusing on. Wilson DILKS, of course, a poor qualifying, but it's never phased him. Every single race, he's gone from 4th to 2nd on the opening corner and then is able to contest for the lead from then on. The only problem is POLHILL and JOHNSON both have took some very, very strong pace, and if it goes their way, I see no reason why we can't have another three-way fight.
Absolutely, and when you say Archie O'BRIEN is riding poorly, by his standards, yes, obviously in the bigger picture he's doing a fine job, nothing wrong with it, but he's a rider you expect to be fighting for wins, not slipping onto the podium every once in a while. Again, coming into this weekend, he had finished 2nd in every single race so far this season. Consistency is key, of course. That streak has now been broken, but we'd expect him to be up there and fighting for 2nd. He's been struggling on starts once again this weekend. Rowrah is always a track where he seemingly just can't quite nail the starts. And it's always struggled. He does struggle with his starts, yes, but Rowrah has always been a track where he's especially struggled them. It is on a slight incline. I wonder if that has to do with anything, the starting grid. On the subject of that, let's go through it, shall we? Finley POLHILL starts from pole. Archie O'BRIEN in P2 with Byron JOHNSON completes in the front row. Wilson DILKS starts in P4 on the inside down to turn 1. As Zach said, watching will likely get up to 2nd before turn 1 even gets going. Harrison Day is P5 with Frankie WATSON in P6. Row 3 is Travis Shaw, Matthew Thomas and Hamish MACKINTOSH with Olly O'GORMAN in P10. But we didn't see Casey O'Gorman earlier in the Extreme 200, so I'm wondering if Olly O'GORMAN maybe isn't here. Luther Curtis is P11 meanwhile with Beth ASHBY P12. Riley Paisley on his return to FAB after sustaining injuries at Three Sisters. He will be starting P13 on the grid and the sole rider on row number 5. So the riders coming into the grid now. Watch Wilson DILKS. That number 85, currently just hidden by that big metal pole, but you will see him, don't worry. He's superb on the starts. If he gets the launch, once again, Zach, he'll be looking to the inside, trying to slide at least into 2nd place, coming through into turn 1.
I think so as well. Of course, this is the Premier Class, their final step, unfortunately. Have we seen? He is. Wilson DILKS has been wheeled off the grid. He is not going to take to the start. This opens the door for so much more opportunity. A huge hit for our championship leader then in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s. All eyes to the lights. It's a slightly altered grid. Finley POLHILL, Archie O'BRIEN, Byron JOHNSON the front row. Let's go racing for round number 5 of 2024. And Archie O'BRIEN gets a rocket ship of a start straight into the race lead. But Byron JOHNSON looks to go to the outside. Finley POLHILL drops to 3rd. What a start that was for Archie O'BRIEN on the 91 machine. Straight into the race lead. His golden opportunity for his first win of 2024 comes right now. He's put his best foot forward. He gets into the race lead ahead of Byron JOHNSON.
Talk about drama at the start of the race. Championship leader, 2nd DNF this weekend. Look at POLHILL to the inside of Byron JOHNSON. That is a lovely move there. Round and going through. Archie O'BRIEN holds on to the race lead though as they come through. POLHILL looking to the inside. Can't quite squeeze on by. But certainly looking, certainly trying to find the gap, certainly trying to find a way through as they head into St John's for the first time. Now Sunny Ben, Matthew Thomas, he's had a great start up into 5th place there for him. Awesome job there as looking to the inside, actually going around the outside, should I say. Finley POLHILL's got into the lead ahead of Archie O'BRIEN, who left the door open, I think. Meanwhile, there's changes further back as well as Harrison Day's through on Byron JOHNSON. It's all change up at the front.
Harrison Day, of course, very rapid on this 70. We saw him take a couple of wins at Ella Park. In fact, his only win of the season came in that first wet and wild race that we had at Ella Park. But of course, he's motivated. Wilson DILKS is out and the door opens for pretty much anyone to take victory. Harrison Day wanted to be his day after a bit of a lull, couple of podiums, top 5s and things, but has overtaken Archie O'BRIEN. Nicely done. Going into Stewart's, gets the exit up in a 2nd place. All eyes now towards Finley POLHILL, searching for his first win on the Metro Kit.
Lovely stuff from Finley POLHILL to get up into the lead round Archie O'BRIEN. O'BRIEN drops behind Harrison Day. Harrison Day has won has won races this season, of course, winning race 1 at Ella Park in the wet with a wonderful ride. Let's see if he's coming through. This will be POLHILL's first win, of course, in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship. If he's able to hold on from those charging behind him. O'BRIEN dropping now down to 4th place. I know he's not been happy with the bike this weekend, but this looks like something different. He's not been dropping back this far. I wonder if O'BRIEN potentially with a problem. Also got to remember, conditions a bit different to yesterday, so maybe you need to change the tyre pressures or change the brake pressure, something like that. Maybe changes haven't worked for O'BRIEN. Maybe they haven't made changes and the bike just isn't happy. But that young man is going backwards, and it doesn't look good for Archie O'BRIEN right now on the 91.
It does not, unfortunately for him, because again, this is his golden opportunity, but the pace at Rowrah hasn't really been what he would have expecting. It's still very, very good indeed. There's a look to the inside as well, nicely done. I think that might well be Hamish MACKINTOSH or Travis Shaw fighting away with Matthew Thomas. Indeed it is, the number 4 through on the 47 as, straight across the chicane. Oh my goodness me, Matthew Thomas. How has he stayed on that bike? How is he okay? What happened there? That has to be a brake failure. Went straight on, straight into the barriers and out of this race. He is so lucky to not have been thrown off there.
There's got to be a brake failure. There's no way that he just didn't stop there without being a brake failure. Tell you what though, kudos for staying on the bike as he clattered through the barrier. He could have easily gone head over heels over the handlebars, but he went straight through the barrier, a little bit unseated, had a leg on the floor, but managed to stay on the thing. Fair play to Matthew Thomas, but a shame to see him down and out of the race. Rowrah, it is a track where you use a lot of brake around here, especially into the hairpin corners. It is so easy to overuse the brakes. I mean, we've seen Wilson DILKS do it in race number 2 of round 4 earlier on. Used too much brake, went into the corner, brakes were overheated and had nothing, and went down. So Matthew Thomas, although he hasn't gone down, he stayed on the bike. Looks like his race 1 in round number 5 is over. There we do see race leader Finley POLHILL on the number 99. 1.5 seconds clear of Harrison Day at the moment. With 8 laps left to run in this one, he is sitting in a very comfortable position as it stands. Is this the day where Finley POLHILL is finally victorious?
Maybe so. Still a lot of race left to run though. He is looking very quick indeed. Came very close to it yesterday. Archie O'BRIEN under pressure, by the way, from Travis Shaw. This is the fight for 4th place. Byron JOHNSON settling in quite nicely to 3rd. Archie though just unable really to find the pace. That start was so good and it's nice to see him finally figure the starts out, but he's now under pressure. Travis Shaw won't be long until he's finding a way through.
No, I doubt it very much. Travis Shaw has been monstrous this weekend as well, especially down in the 50s, and there does go Travis Shaw. Archie O'BRIEN left the door open a little bit, does get the switch back, but Travis Shaw with the drive again. There's got to be a problem on that number 91 bike. There has to be. I just can't believe that Archie, unlike Archie, you know, even when he's not having one of his better weekends, to be dropping back like this, that's just something is not right on that number 91. We'll have to ask him later and get that confirmed, but it just seems bizarre. Back to some of the action though. There's the 71 of Lucy Curtis leading Beth Ashby on the number 8. 2 of our female riders here at FAB-Racing doing a great job. Currently down in P8 and P9. Olly O'GORMAN is in this race, by the way, so it looks like Casey is the O'Gorman who's gone home. As these two continue to fight though, down the back of the pack, of course, competing in the All-Rider Female Cup, brought to you in collaboration with the House of Moto, the first UK grassroots all-female rider competitor cup, currently being led by Nelly Nuth, who's dominating that cup, to put it politely. They actually, the way that the scoring works, I think they just take the points that you score in your race and then just all throw it into one thing, because it's obviously multi-class. Nelly Nuth, given that she is having an amazing season so far in rookies, is just dominating that. But these two, they're not doing a bad job in it either, don't get me wrong, and doing a great job out on track as well. Yeah, they are indeed. Of course, having their own little battle as well, which is nice to see. Of course, we did have Lucy Curtis in with us in the commentary booth to talk over Nelly Nuth's race and sensational victory that it was in the AC40 rookies yesterday. Fantastic commentator that she is, but also fantastic rider more importantly. Lucy Curtis keeping Beth Ashby behind for the moment in 8th place. 5 laps left to run. It's Finley POLHILL still from Harrison Day. There he is, the number 15, searching for his 2nd victory and to become, of course, moving up in the championship. He might well be able to close in on Archie O'BRIEN. He's already won a race this season. We've had 3 different race winners in 2024. He wants to add another to his tally. He's got 4 laps to go and close, but POLHILL he's rapid. I mean, POLHILL so far, he's had 1 podium and 5 top 5s coming into this season, coming into this round at Rowrah. And then it's just switched. I think, like we were talking earlier, you just have a track that you flow so well at, you find that setup, you find that groove, and you just switch on so well. That's what Finley POLHILL is doing. Saying that, Byron JOHNSON's turned up the wick as well. Yeah, nice start there from Byron JOHNSON, a 49.226, fastest of anyone so far in this race. Finley POLHILL, though, gap back to Harrison Day, sitting pretty comfortably at 1.9 seconds. Finley POLHILL, over the last few laps, him and Day have been running very similar lap times, but Finley POLHILL was running like maybe a tenth and a bit faster every single lap. Fine margins, but just allowing him to extend, just build lap by lap by lap across the course of the race. And there we do see Byron JOHNSON. He has been on fine form this weekend, currently running P3, 2.5 seconds off of Harrison Day with 4 laps left to go. And as he starts whipping out lap record pace, I don't think he's going to be making up any places, of course, unless a disaster happens to the two in front. But Byron's having a fantastic weekend, loving life on that 70, loving life round here at Rowrah, and doing a spectacular job as he makes his way through McRae's hairpin. Must be said, Harrison Day up in front is in sight, and he is still lapping faster, so maybe there might be an opportunity come the end for Byron JOHNSON, but again, there's 3 laps left to go, the gap's at 2 seconds. Gonna have to be a big ask, probably pending a mistake from those in front.
Yeah, exactly, but even then, sort of, you make your own luck in motorsport. You've got to be the one there with your hands cupped, ready to pick up the pieces should something go wrong. Right now, Harrison Day, fair enough, he's 2 seconds back, but that's nowhere near a big enough gap for Finley POLHILL to get complacent. This is by no means an easy ride. He's still got to maintain a high level of pace and consistency to keep Harrison Day at bay. In fact, actually a little bit slower on that last time by. And Harrison Day, should something go wrong with POLHILL's bike, or he makes a mistake, or has a poor run through traffic, like we're seeing him work his way through Beth ASHBY and Lucy Curtis, he's then the one ready to pick up the pieces. And like I say, you write your own luck. You are in control of your own narrative, and Harrison Day, P2 is still great, and if something goes wrong with Finley POLHILL, he's right there ready.
Absolutely, but Finley POLHILL's got 1.5 laps left to go and is looking so comfortable, so calm and collective. What's running through the mind of that young man right now, who is on his way to potentially his first win in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship? Surely there are nerves, surely there's excitement, but surely there is commitment as well. 1 lap to go for Finley POLHILL.
Yeah, not long left at all. Finley POLHILL has shown great pace all weekend long, fighting, of course, with the likes of Wilson DILKS and Byron JOHNSON through the first hairpin into the second. Finley POLHILL came tantalisingly close to it yesterday in that fight with Byron JOHNSON and Wilson DILKS, but it was Wilson DILKS that took the victory ahead of POLHILL, of JOHNSON. Came so close as well in the race before that, with JOHNSON taking victory when Wilson DILKS had his brake failure. But now it's POLHILL's day. DILKS did not start. POLHILL took that opportunity with both hands. He negotiates the final couple of corners now. He set blisteringly quick pace, got the start, got the jump, overtook O'Brien. 1 more corner left to negotiate. Finley POLHILL sees the flag first, takes victory for race 1 of round 5 of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70. What a race that was for the 199. Issues as well immediately after the checkered flag, I think, is all as good. Celebrations there for Finley POLHILL. That is one to remember.
His dad looking very happy there as he celebrated. Finley POLHILL on the top step here at Rowrah. A fist bump being offered by Travis Shaw, which is eventually accepted. Good to see that Finley doesn't leave him hanging. Archie O'BRIEN there in the background, I'm sure different emotions running through the number 91's mind, but the number 99, delighted, waves to the camera. This is why we love what we do. We love just watching fantastic racing and riders coming through and showing what they can do. And this race, anyway, is Finley POLHILL's one. What a performance that young man. Harrison Day acknowledges that POLHILL was just stronger. Day ultimately finished 2.8 seconds behind. He got caught up in traffic on the last few laps, but the gap was anyway stable around about 1.8, 1.9 seconds. Ultimately, POLHILL just too much pace. He takes a wonderful victory, and a well-deserved one, from Harrison Day in P2. Byron JOHNSON rounds out the podium. Travis Shaw was P4 with Archie O'BRIEN in P5. Hamish MACKINTOSH in P6 with Olly O'GORMAN finishing 7th. Lucy Curtis in P8. Beth ASHBY in P9. And Matthew Thomas, a DNF after that incident earlier on, a presumptuous brake failure. But you can never tell from a commentary box, but that's what it looked like anyway, as he failed to come to a stop heading into the first chicane. Luckily, he was all okay and stayed on the bike. That's it for race 1 of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. They've still got 2 more races to come this weekend. Of course, a double header round. We're here racing on Monday. 6 races to come, 2 more to go. It's time to go racing. The LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship.
Let's get going then. Of course, we're going to be joined once again by a very special guest in the form of Sullivan Mounsey, who has actually been doing all right today, it must be said. He's an imposter. He's been disguised as one Mr. Dan Goodman, but he's been doing all right. no other ride for this weekend, so you're stuck with us in the commentary box, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly. Well, no, it's all good. There's some proper action so far this weekend in both this class and the Extreme 200s with most of these riders. But no, it's been a good weekend for me, helping Finley POLHILL and many of the other kids, and just watching them progress, because it's always a lovely sight to see. But now we're getting ready for some proper action now.
Yeah, let's bring it on. Of course, we saw a fantastic race 1 of round 5 for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s. Wilson DILKS couldn't even take to the start. Didn't quite confirm what the issue was, but what it did mean was that Finley POLHILL was able to cruise to his first Metrokit victory. Let's see, as it is going to be eyes to the lights. Race number 2 of round 5 for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70. POLHILL on pole, Archie O'BRIEN alongside, and he's gone nowhere. Goodness me, huge incident in the background. The 22 has gone off straight into the back of Matthew Thomas. Archie O'BRIEN's poor start has caused an absolute calamity in the background. Who was that? Hamish MACKINTOSH, huge off before the races even began.
Oh, what a shame that was for Hamish. We were speaking earlier about how he can keep the tyres warm, but that's not the way to do it. Sadly, that can happen. Archie O'BRIEN struggled to get the bike going, but he finally got going, and luckily it wasn't anything too serious. But back to the race now. Finley POLHILL, he's trying to stretch out this gap already. Wilson DILKS, his bike ended up blowing up, is what I've heard around the paddock. So he's on his other bike that he's selling at the moment. There's Travis Shaw up the inside of Frankie WATSON, but he's not being able to do it. And Harrison Day round the outside of Travis Shaw. Harrison had a very spectacular ride earlier on the race before, where he got second place. And Byron JOHNSON as well was in third place. I thought he'd be up there with Finley, but at the moment it looks like he's struggling just to hang on the back of Finley. Finley's been able to put a 51.1 out in there, and there's Harrison Day up the inside of the Frankie WATSON. So it's just these guys, it's like we've got battles all the way through the field at the moment.
Yeah, we do indeed. Of course, fantastic racing to enjoy. Byron JOHNSON, as you say, very uncharacteristically off the pace relative to what he's been doing this weekend. But Harrison Day this morning has just been smashing it ever since. He got a top 5 in the extremes, like you say, really was able to capitalise in race number 1 of the 70s, and now is setting some blisteringly quick pace. The overtakes that he's pulling off are remarkably brave as well. Let's see if he's able to go and catch that top 3 battle of POLHILL, JOHNSON and DILKS. Of course, Harrison Day, if they begin to battle, will start to reel them in. There is Travis Shaw versus Frankie WATSON. Of course, both of them were doing battle earlier in the MiniGP 50 race. Obviously, that was Frankie that took the victory. This is sort of their just experiences. Archie O'BRIEN, an almighty send to the inside of Travis Shaw through the McRae's hairpin. That would be sensational if he's able to pull it off. I think that the inside line was able to, but focusing on the front, Finley POLHILL, well, he got his first Metrokit win earlier on. He wants to do 2 in a row.
Yeah, well, indeed, he's doing very well, but Byron's able to 49.7 on that last lap and just rein Finley POLHILL back in. But they've dropped Wilson DILKS, who actually seems to look like he looked down at the shifter, so maybe there's a problem for Wilson, or he's just not feeling as comfortable as he did before. But Byron's now stepped up his game this lap, and he's back on Finley POLHILL, and now Wilson's putting the hammer down and caught them as well. And there you go, that's fastest lap of the race for Byron JOHNSON, which is 49.6, and just been smashed by Harrison Day, who's done a 49.6 as well. So he's trying to get with these guys, but at the moment he's just a little bit too far back to have anything. But let's see what he can pull out the bag for the rest of this race. But bear in mind, everybody, this is much colder than it was before. It's not as hot. These times won't be as fast, so they have to be a bit more careful on the front end and the rear.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, is there any other sort of adjustments you make when the track is colder? The tyres obviously are colder as well. How as a rider do you adjust to the temperatures?
Well, as a rider, you've got to be careful. And there's Byron JOHNSON almost up the inside of Finley POLHILL, just giving a look. But you have to make sure, just have a look and be careful, because you have to adjust to the conditions. Make sure you're not pushing the front, because there's not going to be as much grip when it's cold. However, when it's too hot, it can be greasy. So it's a cost up. Sometimes you can be perfect conditions. At the moment, this is just a bit on there. Oh, and there's Wilson DILKS up the inside. And lovely move there. But Byron JOHNSON around the outside. Who's going to have the inside line? Is Byron going to go for a move up the inside? Yes, he is. He's done Wilson DILKS up the inside. This is only helping Finley POLHILL. Wilson DILKS on the cutback now. They're going to have the run into this next corner. Wilson's the bigger rider. Is he going to do it? Yes, he is. He's up the inside, but no, backed out the last minute. Byron JOHNSON around the outside. Finley POLHILL. So now we've got a little bit of a gap over these two. Looking like a bit more of a 0.2, 0.3 gap. This is exactly what Finley POLHILL wants. These two scrapping away, but Byron's now putting the hammer down. He needs to catch Finley, and he's almost done it. but this is not what these two need if they're trying to win this race. And there we go. We've not got any fast lap times. Finley POLHILL just set another consistent 49.6, but Byron's just reined him in. He's got a bit closer, but Wilson's now just trying to catch. They need to stay in a train and just try and catch Finley POLHILL, because at the moment this is not what they want.
Yeah, exactly. A game of chicken at the apex, really, of Stewart's more than anything, and it was fair due to Byron JOHNSON, who just committed around the outside. Wilson DILKS wasn't exactly backing out on the inside, but Byron JOHNSON just had that bravery to sweep around the outside. There is Archie O'BRIEN leading a bit of a train ahead of Frankie WATSON and Travis Shaw for the back end of the top 5. Now, obviously, for a lot of riders, they would love to have a weekend as good as Archie is having inside the top 5. But for Archie, he's really been struggling to get the ball rolling. And what do you think have been some of the issues that he's been suffering? Obviously, that start didn't help, but all weekend long, he's been ever so slightly off the pace of those in front of him.
Yeah, well, I think he's just had one of these bogey weekends where it's just not all gone to plan, and sometimes that can just happen, and you've just got to take it with a pinch of salt and just kind of try and help stay as close to the championship as possible. At the moment, he's still about 30 points away from Wilson DILKS, and obviously this isn't going to help his championship, but he's just got to try and reduce the point reduction as best as possible, because at the moment Wilson's had 2 DNFs this weekend, so it's only going to be helping with Archie O'BRIEN, but he just needs to stay on the bike and just try and do as best as he can and just have fun, because this is what it's all about, having fun. And Finley POLHILL, this has been his best ever weekend, and he's enjoyed it the most because he's done his best, but sometimes you have to think about the long run and not just one race. But there we go. Must say, just while I was talking about that, Wilson DILKS set another faster lap time with a 49.2. Not close to the lap record or the times they was doing yesterday, but they are just making sure they're able to do a decent, safe pace without throwing the championship away, and that's the key point, and what Wilson's been able to do. How he's won so many races is so impressive. But here we go, Byron JOHNSON, he's having a look, but he's not going to be able to do it this time around. It's just about chipping away, and at the moment Finley now knows Byron's there. Finley looks like he's taking it a bit more safer rather than Byron who's pushing all that. And there's Byron JOHNSON up the inside of Finley POLHILL. Lovely clean move there. Now Byron goes very defensive. There's Wilson DILKS up the inside. Finley has just lost 2 places in 2 corners. Not what you want when you're trying to win this race.
Nah, exactly. You're under pressure from Byron JOHNSON, who loves that move into Sunny Bend, just waiting, keeps the throttle open, takes to the inside and catches you off guard. Then Wilson loves the other move into Paddock Bend, where again you just keep that throttle open, take to the inside, it opens up nicely and you sweep your way through. Finley POLHILL would have been shaken by being overtaken by JOHNSON. Then the inside was open, and very quickly the pendulum can swing. The momentum goes the way of Byron JOHNSON. Of course, he has taken a win so far this season. All 3 of these riders have won at least 1 race this weekend. Now, who's going to be the one to take the penultimate race of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 here at Rowrah? Byron JOHNSON, of course, looks very, very quick, very comfortable on that bike, and his overtaking as well has been so remarkably brave. He is not scared at all to send the moves when they count.
No, not at all, really. And he's just trying to push on it quite a bit, actually, because he's just pushing and trying to get away. And here we go. Here we've got a couple other riders here, Matthew Thomas and Olly O'GORMAN. Olly O'GORMAN's the brother of Casey O'GORMAN, but actually he's doing quite impressive. He's very small, but he's able to battle here with Matthew Thomas, and it's sort of like we've got battles all the way through the field, and this is exactly what you want. You don't want to just be riding on your own, because you're always improving your craft when you're riding with other people, and this is what it's all about. This is the road to MotoGP. We've already got Olly O'GORMAN's brother, who's got through he's on the path to road to MotoGP, and so is his little brother Olly O'GORMAN. And we've also got Matthew Thomas, who's made quite considerable steps this year, having quite a couple good finishes in both 50s and 70s, and it's really good. He's been struggling a little bit with his lines in turn 1, 2 and 3, but he's been chipping away, and that's what it is. He's very resilient, and it's kind of exactly what you want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. At grassroots level, it is just about refining your craft, sort of learning lines, the fundamentals of bike racing. Is, oh my goodness me, it's getting very busy here with some lap traffic. Wilson DILKS under pressure from Finley POLHILL, as Harrison Day is now involved as well. They're trying to lap the 22 of Hamish MACKINTOSH, who, remember, had some issues off the race start. Look at Finley POLHILL trying to get back underneath off the exit of the second hairpin, squeezing his way through. Wilson DILKS leaves him no room, as much as he can get away with through into Stewart's Bend. Wilson DILKS stays in second place. This is allowing Byron JOHNSON to get away, but look at Harrison Day. He's closing in. 3-bike fight for P2.
Yeah, well, exactly. Finley's he was back on Wilson DILKS, but Byron's gone. Byron is in a comfortable lead now, but Harrison Day, he might get involved. We're going on to the last lap of the race now. Wilson DILKS takes the defensive line. We've got Byron JOHNSON, who is just taking it easy now. He's got a nice gap over the other guys, 1.8 seconds. There he goes, up the inside of Bethany ASHBY, and he is just chipping away as Byron. But there we go, Wilson, Finley, Harrison, all in the background, battling for second place. But Byron's just comfortably leading, and we're now back on these two. Harrison Day, is he going to get involved? We don't know. They're going to overtake some lap traffic now. Are they going to get past, or are they going to get stuck? They've all got past quite freely. Finley has to line it up now. He's got about 2 more overtaking opportunities that he could do cleanly, and he's not going to do it in that first one. But here's Byron JOHNSON. He's going to go to the line. He's just taking it easy, and he's going to bring it home. But Wilson goes ridiculously tight in the last corner. But congratulations to Byron JOHNSON, who's going to do it. And is that going to be Finley POLHILL? Finley POLHILL, I think he might have snatched it. Yes, he did. Finley POLHILL snatched that second place by 0.036 of a second. What a race by Byron JOHNSON, who just kept his head down, kept chipping away, and he was able to go. Well done to Byron JOHNSON, and well done to top 3. And Harrison Day, it was a very impressive ride by him as well, who was actually off the back of the front group and ended up catching them all up. So very impressive. And the thing is, his rookie year in the Metric 70 class, so very impressive by Harrison Day.
Yeah, he's one of obviously our 4 race-winning riders in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70. Is Harrison Day winning race 1 at a very wet and wild Ella Park, and he is just smashing it. You're very right. Consistent top 5s in whatever race he's competing in. But let's have a look as to how things racked up after then the 11 laps of racing. Byron JOHNSON taking his second win of the weekend in the 70s. His third, of course, if you count his win in the 50s, ahead of Finley POLHILL, who narrowly got the jump on Wilson DILKS to the end to demote the championship leader to third place. Harrison Day from Archie O'BRIEN, making up for a poor start, was our P2 man of Archie O'BRIEN there in 5th place. Then comes Frankie WATSON ahead of Travis Shaw. Matthew Thomas in P8 after being hit into by Hamish MACKINTOSH off the start. Olly O'GORMAN from Beth ASHBY, that's the top 10. And then comes McIntyre, who, as I say, got a very unfortunate getaway after Archie O'BRIEN's poor start, catching really everyone off guard. Lucy Curtis rounds off the top 12 and the final rider of the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s. They'll be back for race 3 later on.
Final race of the weekend for the Premier Class. Final race of the weekend for the LS2 Helmets MiniGP British 70 British Championship. And what a weekend it has been. A bit of a chaotic race too earlier on, especially at the start. We saw a bit of an incident with Hamish MACKINTOSH, a poor start for Archie O'BRIEN, leading to a bit of a ricochet chain reaction, but then a great race from start to finish as well. Zach Sweeney, this is what it all comes down to. This is the one everyone's been waiting for, the final race of the weekend for these guys, the final race of this ginormous doubleheader weekend at Rowrah as well. Really the icing on top of the cake. Well, who do you think is going to be on top?
I have absolutely no idea. This is the championship that has been all eyes on, right? It's the final step in their grassroots career before they move on to their junior and that sort of that second phase of their sort of younger age career before they go into the British Talent Cup or Red Bull Rookies or anything like that. This is where they start out, and if you can win here, you are definitely looking for a successful further career. It should be absolutely fantastic, and let's hope we're in for a good final race.
Absolutely. The riders making their way out on the formation lap. Finley POLHILL starts on pole position. Archie O'BRIEN alongside in P2 and Byron JOHNSON in 3rd. Wilson DILKS is 4th with Harrison Day P5 and Frankie WATSON in P6. Travis Shaw, Matty Thomas and Hamish MACKINTOSH on the 3rd row with Olly O'GORMAN, Lucy Curtis and Beth ASHBY on row 4. Riley Paisley, our lone rider in P13 on row 5. Joining me once again, Sullivan Mounsey. Welcome back. Should be a good race. We had a pretty hectic race too earlier on. Final race of this awesome double weekend we've had as well. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I feel like it'll be a really good race, to be honest with you guys. It's been a spectacular all weekend, actually. I think there was only one race that wasn't actually very interesting, where they all kind of split up, and that was the one that Finley won, where he kind of stretched them all out and just kind of went. Byron seemed like he struggled in that race. However, he was able to kind of bring it back in that last one. But let's just see what kind of happens. Wilson, he's on his bike that he's selling, actually. So he's not on the same bike that went kaput earlier. So let's see what they can do in this one.
Well, spare bike then for Wilson DILKS. Let's see if that brings him any luck, as well as maybe in a couple of weeks' time a bit of spare cash as well. There we see pole sitter Finley POLHILL, Archie O'BRIEN and Byron JOHNSON alongside. O'BRIEN will be wanting a better start than he had in race 2. Johnson will be wanting a better start as well, because it might propel him into the lead instead of just second place. It's time to go racing for the final race of the weekend here at Rowrah. It is lights out, we are underway. Great start there for POLHILL. Archie O'BRIEN gets away well as well. Will slot into second place. Byron JOHNSON holds position, as does Wilson DILKS in P4. The top 4 all where they started. Harrison Day as well into P5, all looking to the inside there. Changes of position. Archie O'BRIEN trying to go the long way around of Finley POLHILL. Didn't quite work out. Wilson DILKS went the short way around of Byron JOHNSON. It did work. He's up into third place as they rocket their way out of Erdell's. Wilson DILKS to the inside of O'BRIEN. Can O'BRIEN play defensive and sweep round? No. DILKS gets it done. Up into second for the number 85. Now just Finley POLHILL to go if he wants to make his way into the lead of the race. Into Sunny Bend they go for the first time in this one. This 12-lap affair coming out. Looks like Byron JOHNSON, a bit of a mistake there. A poor exit maybe puts him in the clutches of Harrison Day, but at the end of the first lap, it's POLHILL from DILKS, from O'BRIEN, your top 3. What a start that was, or an opening lap, should I say, for Wilson DILKS. Sully, he's got up to second.
Yeah, well, proper nice overtake by Archie O'BRIEN as well. He's actually hanging in there quite nicely, and so is Travis Shaw and Harrison Day. Harrison was able to battle with these guys at the end, but there is actually got a bit more of a Moto 3 pack this race. It's all quite close. Wilson was able to put 50.7. There's Wilson DILKS up the inside of Finley POLHILL. He's done it nice and clean, and he's on a rocket ship at the moment. He is going for it. So let's see if Finley's going to go back at him or whether they're going. At the moment, it looks like them two have just broken away from everybody else, but let's just see. Wilson's had some very tight lines at the moment, just like that. He's not doing his very sweeping lines as he has done before, but he's looking very racy this time around. So let's see what's going on. As you can see here, Byron's the lead in the second pack at this moment in time. We've got Byron JOHNSON, Harrison Day and Archie O'BRIEN with Travis Shaw just hanging on there. But there we go, Finley POLHILL's having a look up the inside of Wilson DILKS. He's not going to make do this time around, but he is there. Finley has got a win this weekend. So has Byron JOHNSON and Wilson DILKS. The top 3 have all got to win this weekend. And who do you think is going to do it? Because at the moment, it's looking like Wilson's the strongest man on track.
Absolutely, Wilson looking super comfortable out there at the moment, absorbing all of the pressure from behind. Of course, heading into this round, or this double round, should I say, this weekend, Wilson DILKS, there was only one race he didn't win. He finished third as Harrison Day won in the wet at Ella Park. Of course, a few different winners this weekend in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70 British Championship, but DILKS looks to continue stretching his championship lead. Archie O'BRIEN has been overtaken by Harrison Day. Day looks to have really upped his pace over the previous 2 tours of Rowrah, and is now maybe trying to hunt down Byron JOHNSON for a race, for a podium. Byron JOHNSON on the previous lap of 49.136, fastest lap of the race, but only a smidge faster than race leader Wilson DILKS on that number 85. The gap between DILKS and POLHILL at the line was 0.3 of a second. There is Archie O'BRIEN. He's had a very disappointing weekend by his standards. His streak of second places has ended every race he entered so far this season. Coming into this weekend has been P2. This weekend, though, something's not clicked. Whether it's the bike, whether it's him, whether it's both, he will be disappointed and will be after putting a lot of work in heading into Clay Pigeon in 3 weeks' time. But he's got Harrison Day in front of him. Harrison having a good weekend. Let's see if Archie can try and get back up in front.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's been a bit of a weird one for Archie O'BRIEN. Actually looks like he's on Harrison Day's bike. I think I saw them taking Harrison Day fairings off and putting Archie's on. So he's had some bike trouble and he's now looking kind of like part teammates other than that black fairing on the front. But back to the leaders, Wilson, he's just looking very comfortable. He's set at 48.8, the fastest lap of the race. And he's just gapped Finley in 2 laps. So he's gone back to his race 1 fanatics and just kind of going with the flow and just going for it. And he doesn't look too out of the seas on his second bike, but his second bike seems a bit more comfortable. Maybe have to take that 4-cell sign off at this rate. But Finley's there. He's had a very good weekend as well. He's got his first ever first place finish, and he's got quite a few seconds and thirds this weekend, other than one DNF where Byron ran into the back of him, which was a shame. But it's an amazing race this is, and these are the kids to the road to MotoGP. But Byron Johnson, he actually looks like he's caught Finley POLHILL up. He was 1 second off Finley POLHILL last lap. He's now 0.8 off and looking even closer than before, so we might start seeing a battle for second, which will spice up this race.
Byron Johnson, he's been doing it all weekend. Just as the race progresses, he just gets faster and faster and faster as the bike begins to come to him, as he starts to settle into a rhythm. That's what we're seeing here. His last lap was a 10th quicker than Finley POLHILL. They're coming to the timing line now, making it 6 laps left to go. That lap, he was 2/10 faster. So Johnson is reeling POLHILL in. But of course, it's one thing to catch a rider in front. It is another thing entirely to overtake it. Let's see what the 37 can do, if indeed he does get to the back of the 99, as Wilson DILKS continues to extend his lead. Now 1.7 seconds up the front. As Sully said, looking super, super comfortable. Is the championship leader out there feeling pretty happy, even though he's on the spare bike. And just doing a great job. Byron Johnson, meanwhile, let's keep an eye on him and him closing in to Finley POLHILL. Johnson has been loving life at Rowrah this weekend. He's been on fine form, taking some race wins in other classes and in this class as well, and just looked right at home here in Cumbria. Let's see if he can get up into second place as well. 5 laps left to go. Going to be pretty close towards the end of this one for P2, I reckon.
Yeah, well, if you just saw Wilson DILKS, then he looks very calm, but now we have got a battle for second place. This is going to start spicing up, everybody. Keep your eyes peeled, don't take your eyes off this screen, try not to blink, because this is going to get spicy. As we know, Byron Johnson, he's a bit of a lunger. Oh, Wilson DILKS, a problem for Wilson DILKS. Wilson DILKS is back to P3. This is amazing. Well, for these two, but dreadful for Wilson DILKS. This is all going to spice up the race, guys. I'd be keeping your eyes open. Now, this is Byron's time. There we go, Byron Johnson. This is the time Byron Johnson wants to get past Finley POLHILL. Byron Johnson is going to be loving this right now. He's gone from third off the back of these two and now could be even doing this. Finley POLHILL is thinking, wow, this is amazing. So is Byron, but Wilson's back in it. He must have hit the kill switch or something. This is not good for Wilson, but amazing for these two. And there's Wilson DILKS up the inside. He has got much more pace than these two. So let's see what he's going to be able to do.
Well, he either hit the kill switch or he's led him back through to try and get some racing practice, because he was so far up the road. It's possible that he could have just gone, you know what, I'm bored, let's just hang back and see what we can do. Wilson DILKS up into P2, whatever happened, and already chasing down Finley POLHILL. Wilson DILKS has been mega this weekend, alongside everyone else up the inside into St John's. Oh, that is a brave move to make. Ultimately came to nothing, but DILKS has been spectacular this weekend, alongside all of our other riders in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. These are the guys, as DILKS goes to the lead once again. These are the guys that are going to be in the RNG British Talent Cup in a couple of years' time, that might be following Sullivan Moundy up to the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup, maybe going on to MotoGP, BSB, WSBK, whatever it is. These are the guys leading the charge for Britain's bike racing future, and it is such a great talent list out there, and they are doing an amazing job so far. Wilson DILKS then back to the lead. Whatever happened a few laps ago, seemingly gotten over it. He's back in front, 2.5 laps left, and well, continuing to put in the pace.
No, I must say this is amazing by Wilson. He had a bit of a disappointment, whatever just happened then, but he's put his head down and he's just gone straight back for it. He's gone straight past Finley POLHILL and he's trying to go, and he's already dropping. They've both dropped Byron, and he's starting to drop Finley POLHILL. This is very impressive, and he's just gone and set the fastest lap of the race. There was a bit of upset, but he's now done it. But there we go. He's trying to get past Lucy Gettis. He's struggling. Is that Finley POLHILL that's now trying to get back past Wilson DILKS? Yes, it is. He's not going to be able to make anything as Finley POLHILL, but that's brought Finley back into it. This is giving Finley many chances in this race, so let's see what he's going to be able to do. But Wilson, he does look very calm and collected. He doesn't look like he's on the limit, and he's just able to do this. And this just shows you, everybody, that Wilson has had the upper hand in this race over everyone else. he's made a mistake or something has happened with the bike, and he's kept going, and now he's back in the lead and he's going again. He keeps on having these little upsets there or thereabouts, but we're now gone to his last lap, and he is just showing everyone how it's done.
He is so comfortable out in front. POLHILL still sticking with him. Unfortunately, the traffic has ruined Byron Johnson's chances of challenging for anywhere further up the podium. But DILKS and POLHILL still super close out there. DILKS, little check back as they come out of Erdale's. Bit more traffic to get through. That's Beth Ashby on the number 8. Gets through with little trouble. POLHILL maybe will be getting held up. Beth Ashby normally gets out of the way very politely, though does not so on this occasion. That may be POLHILL's chances over as DILKS into Sunny Bend for the last time. He had an issue early on, but whatever it was, he's gotten over it. Dropped back to 3rd, and moments later, he's rounding the final corner. Wilson DILKS once again wins here in Rowrah in the LS2 Helmets MiniGP 70s British Championship. And what a performance from our championship leader. If you ever doubted him, you shouldn't be now, because he has just stamped his authority on 2024, the number 85, with potentially the ride of the season. What a race from DILKS as POLHILL and Johnson round out the podium, but Wilson DILKS, the man of the moment.
Yeah, well, and very impressive ride by Wills. Very nice to see. He was very calm and collected. He didn't mess up. He made a mistake or something's happened, and he's just kept his head down. He's kept on going, and he's been able to show everyone that he can drop back to 3rd, lose it, go on the curb on the last lap, and still keep his head cool and bring it home. That was a very impressive ride by Wilson, and this just shows him he needs to give himself a big pat on the back and welcome everybody to the road to MotoGP, because I think he's one of the names that you're not going to want to forget.
Absolutely. You'll be hearing the name Wilson DILKS for many years to come, I imagine. He takes yet another spectacular victory to cap off this double-header weekend here at Rowrah. Round 4 and round 5 done and dusted. Wilson DILKS takes yet another win. Finley POLHILL in P2 and Byron Johnson rounding out our podium. Harrison Day in P4 with Travis Shaw in P5, only pipping Archie O'BRIEN to the line by 0.6 of a second. Hamish MACKINTOSH, after a disappointing start to race 2, gets into P7 with Matthew Thomas P8, Olly O'GORMAN 9th and Beth Ashby in P10. And Lucy Curtis, our 11th and final rider in that one. Sully, it's brought an end to a brilliant weekend of racing, but Wilson DILKS especially can be happy with that.
Yeah, he showed everything. He's the top rider. He's number 1 in the championship, and this just proves it exactly to everyone why he is. He's been able to put some spectacular results all through this season. There's 2 rounds left now, and at the moment it looks like he's just going to wipe the floor clean if he keeps up his streak. He's ended on a high. He's got that 1st place, and that's all that matters. He's now going to be feeling good, and so will Finley POLHILL and Byron Johnson as well. Like, they've all had exceptional weekends, but they just need to keep chipping away. And if it's all about that in your mindset, if they have a good mindset and keep feeling strong and positive about themselves, then they'll get there and they'll make it all the way. So it's just about keep chipping away. But well done to Wilson as well. He's had all bike problems for 2 races, but he's been able to put his head down and keep on going. So well done Wilson DILKS and everybody else in the LS2 MiniGP 70 Championship.
Well, that is it then for FAB-Racing here at Rowrah in 2024. What a double weekend we have just had. Thank you to Sullivan Mounsey for joining us in the commentary box over the last few races. And, well, what a weekend of racing it has been. Zach Sweeney, just excellence from start to finish, over 60 races this weekend.
It's been a tough one. It's been a long one, but it's been worth it. Rowrah delivered. It did not disappoint at all. We ended the first half of 2024. We began the second half of FAB-Racing for this season, and it was exhilarating from start to finish. We're exhausted in the commentary box.
FAB-Racing.